Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. This is the continuation of the Mesillas Yesharim, which is called The Way of the Upright, or the Path of the Just, by the Ramchal of Moshe Chaim Lutzato. This is from the Yafa edition from Art Scroll, and this is what the Sefer looks like if you've never seen it. And I will have a link below to Art Scroll so you could check out all they offer. And this is part number 53. This is still a continuation of chapter 11, almost coming to a conclusion, BeEzrat Hashem. One more week of this will be finally the conclusion. It's been a long way for this chapter because it's been a lot of information. It's on the details of the traits of Nikios, which is defined as cleanliness. So this section that I was working on is called the Nikios. Hold on, I'm trying to find the page here. Nikios in character traits, and there's 4 different traits. The ones that were already discussed in previous videos, the last 2 videos, were haughtiness and anger. Anger was the most recent, so you go back to look at that information. So this week is on Nikios from envy, and this is a short portion, and then actually the last one, BeEzrat Hashem, for this chapter will be longer. So Nikios from envy. So envy is also nothing but ignorance and foolishness. And the commentary here says ignorance because, as noted below by the Ramchal, the envious person does not realize that whatever a person receives in this world is heavenly ordained for him. Heavenly, I should say, if you didn't hear that. That's from Ora HaMesila. And foolishness because it is actually counterproductive, as the Ramchal will now explain. So what he's just saying is that having envy, you shouldn't be envious of other people. Envy is kina is in Hebrew. So he's saying is like, why should you be concerned about what someone else has? Because that's what they're supposed to be getting. So don't do that. I'm just saying that. Now he's going to continue. So continuing, he says, since the envious one does not gain anything for himself, nor does he harm the one he envies. His only accomplishment is that he harms himself, as it is stated in the end of the verse that I just mentioned from EO 5:2. And envy slays the gullible. And the most foolish form of envy. All envy is foolish. However, there exists someone whose foolishness is so great that if he sees his fellow enjoying some good fortune, he becomes distraught and he frets and agonizes, to the point that even the good fortunes that he enjoys afford him no pleasure, due to the agony that he experiences as a result of what he sees in his fellow's possession. Meaning that he can't, there's a Yiddish word for again, like he doesn't want someone else, I don't remember how to explain that. Like someone else having something, he can't handle it, he can't stand it, something like that. Okay, so the commentary here says, Archos HaTzadikim Shar HaKina cites a fable, and again, kina is the envy, that's what that means. Shar is the gate. So he cites a fable that brings out how a supremely envious person would rather suffer than see someone else succeed more than him. An envious person and a desirous person were summoned by the king, who made the following offer. Again, this is just a fable, but just to get the understanding of what this all means. He would provide one of them with anything that he asked for, but the other would receive double. The envious person did not want to ask first because he could not stand the thought of someone else having twice as much, while the desirous person did not want to ask first because he longed for the double portion. Finally, the desirous one convinced the envious one to go first. He proceeded to ask the king to gouge out one of his eyes so that his companion would have both of his eyes gouged out. So you see, he didn't benefit in the end. I'm saying that. So that's a good way to understand it. Okay, so he continues on now. This is a level of envy about which the wise one, Shlomo HaMelech, said in Mishlei 14:30. A tender heart brings healing of the flesh, but envy brings rotting of the bones. And the commentary here says, deep envy eats away not only tender flesh, but even solid bone, i.e., it entirely destroys a person's life. That's from Rabbeinu Yonah and Malbim. Rav Shlomo Walbei explains the verse homiletically in a manner that brings out Ramchal's point. The deeply envious person sees the good only in what others possess, and is so unable to appreciate anything of his own that he views even his bones, the essence of his physical being, as nothing but rot. That's Ale Shur 1, page 37. Okay, so continuing on. A less foolish but more common form of envy now he's going to talk about. However, there are others who, although they do not agonize and experience distress as much as the first type, so they are still able to derive pleasure from their own good fortune. Nevertheless, they feel some distress within themselves, or at the very least their mood is dampened when they see someone achieve a degree of success that is superior to theirs. A person in this category will feel this way unless the more successful fellow is one of his closest friends. And certainly he will feel this way if that fellow is one of those of whom he is not very fond. And certainly if he is a foreigner from another land. The commentary here says, a person is least likely to become envious of someone with whom he is very close, whose joy he might share, and most likely to become envious of a total stranger. In this vein, the sages stated that a person tends to be envious of all people except for his son and his student, both of whom he views as an extension of himself. That's Sanhedrin 105b. Okay, continuing on, he says, you will observe that with their mouths they might utter words as though they are happy or grateful for their fellow's success, but inwardly their heart feels resentful. This is something that generally occurs to most people, for although most people are not the utterly envious type, nevertheless they have not purged themselves of it completely. Surely one in this category will experience envy if someone who shares his occupation and is therefore a rival succeeds at that occupation. For in truth, every professional resents his fellow professional, and it says Bereshit Rabbah 19:4. And he will certainly be envious if his competitor succeeds in his craft more than he. And he continues on, how envy results from ignorance. However, if these people would only know and comprehend that a person does not encroach on that which has been prepared for his fellow by even a hair's breadth. That's from Yoma 38b. And anything that belongs to anyone is from Hashem. According to his, meaning Hashem, it's capital H, wondrous plan, and his, again, Hashem, that's talking, unfathomable wisdom. They would recognize that they have no reason to agonize at all over the good fortune of their fellows. Okay, and the commentary here says, there are two layers to this ignorance. If a person realized that it is impossible to encroach on that which has been decreed for someone else, he would realize the futility of envy. And if he realized that everything is distributed with the utmost precision as part of a master plan, he would recognize that there is no reason for envy. Hashem gives each individual the tools that he needs to carry out his specific role. The idea is conveyed in the blessing we say each morning, Baruch Hashem she'asali kol tzarki. Blessed are you, Hashem, who has provided me my every need. That's from Alei Shur 1, page 36. Only when one comes to terms with the fact that most of what happens in the world is beyond human comprehension, coming, as Ramchal states, from, quote, Hashem's unfathomable wisdom, can one internalize these truths. And that's from Az Nidberu 1362. And an additional commentary, Ibn Ezra, Shemos 2014, notes that many have wondered how the Torah can prohibit coveting someone else's property or his wife. Is it possible for a person to avoid natural feelings of jealousy? He answers that a person covets only what he feels he has a chance of attaining. A simple villager who sees a princess will not covet her, for he realizes that marrying her is beyond the realm of possibility. Similarly, every intelligent person must recognize that one acquires a spouse or possessions only through Hashem's providence. And if Hashem grants something to another person, it is more utterly removed from him than the princess is removed from the villager. When one internalizes this, it becomes easy to obey Hashem's commandment not to covet. So I'm just saying this now, is that, so now you understand, like, don't be jealous or envious of anyone who has what you think is more than you, whether it's their house, their car, their whatever. It's just, it's what Hashem decided was for that person. So there's no point. It doesn't benefit you, let's just say, to do that. It only is actually going to harm you and maybe, make you all upset. Like, well, how come I don't have it? How it keeps, because that's not for you. So again, it's not worth it. It's wasting your time and your energy and effort, and it could destroy your health too, because you could let it really bother you. So it's just kind of a silly thing. So just to know that it's all from Hashem, and Hashem decides who gets what and when and how and where and why. Okay, so continuing on. Let's see where I am here. Almost finished here. So in the times of Mashiach, envy will vanish. Well, I'm just saying this. That's good. Baruch Hashem. BeEzrat Hashem should happen soon. This is what the prophet Yeshaya notified us about the future era of Mashiach. That in order that the good of Israel should be complete, i.e. for Israel to derive the maximum pleasure from Hashem's gifts, the Holy One, blessed is He, will proceed before bestowing that goodness to remove from our hearts this unseemly character trait, and then no one will agonize over the good fortune of another. Moreover, one who is successful will have no need to conceal himself and his affairs because of the envy of others. This is the message of what is written by Yeshaya 11:13. The jealousy of Ephraim will cease, and the oppressors of Yehuda shall be cut off. Ephraim will not be jealous of Yehuda, and Yehuda will not harass Ephraim. And the commentary here says, earlier in that passage, verse 9, Yeshaya writes, the world will be filled with knowledge of Hashem, like water covering the seabed. I think it's Olam Yimale Dea. What is it? I forget exactly. I don't have the Yeshaya right near me. Anyway, continuing on the commentary, as Ramchal has explained, the antidote to envy is the realization that everything bestowed upon anyone is determined by Hashem's wondrous plan and inscrutable wisdom. Thus, once the world is filled with, quote, knowledge of Hashem, envy will surely disappear. Okay, let me see, where was I here? Continuing on. Sorry, I just lost my place. Okay, so this is akin to the peace and tranquility of the ministering angels, who are all happy in their service of Hashem, each one at his own station, and one is not at all envious of his fellow. And the commentary here says, there are many different classes of ministering angels, each with its own level of comprehension of Hashem's presence. And says, see Rambam Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah 2:5-8. Yet no angel is envious of another. When it's time for them to sing Hashem's praises, they wait for each other, each of them encouraging the other to begin first, until in the end they all sing in unison. As we say in the Shacharis prayer, they all grant permission to one another to sanctify the one who formed them. The capital one, the capital W, that means talking about Hashem. All of them as one proclaim His holiness. His is Hashem also. And that's from Avos de Rabbi Nassan 12:6, and also Tosfos to Chagiga 13b. I think it's Yamale Haaretz Deyat Hashem Kemayim Al Ha-Yamim or something. Yeah, I think it's something like that. I think it just came to me what it was from Yeshai, that the world's going to be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Okay, and finishing up here, for they all comprehend, this is again talking about the ministering angels, for they all comprehend the ultimate truth, and are thus ecstatic about the good fortune that they possess and content with their lot. So that's the angels. They have no reason to be envious. So that's the end of this section. It was shorter than some of the others. So, and I hope and pray that we will all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.